just you and I.
All right, now we're going to talk about developing security requirements. Now, as someone who works in IT or security or a related area and you care about security, you might be asking yourself one question. Wait a second, we've done our business impact analysis. Why are we now talking about doing security requirements? We'll get to that in a moment. All right, in this lesson, we're going to talk about how the process of identifying security requirements, the reference material that will really be the most useful for figuring out what the security requirements are, and then also talking about different high-level ways of thinking about security requirements based on the cloud services model that your organization is using. Okay, the items on the left here, business requirements, business impact analysis, frameworks, regulations. Those are really all of the materials that are going to be useful for determining the security requirements for your organization. We talked about business requirements, what the organization is really trying to do in the cloud, and what services, applications, data, you name it, is required. That's really going to help you determine how you can apply many of the concepts we've talked about, especially that CIA framework. How will confidentiality, integrity, and availability be enforced and maintained given the business requirements, what's being done? And then we can leverage our business impact analysis to identify what are the most critical assets, what really needs the greatest amount of protection because it has the greatest business value, and how to really prioritize any security efforts and requirements around the assets that are most important to the organization. Frameworks. We talked about how different security frameworks can really take a lot of the thinking, in a good way, out of figuring out what controls are really appropriate. Many organizations have figured out the high-level control areas that really deserve our focus when we're talking about the cloud, especially when it comes to things such as encryption, access, data classification, labeling, redundancy, backups. These areas that are a little different in the cloud compared to on-premise. And many of these frameworks really are an excellent guide to help organizations concentrate their efforts and implement effective controls. Regulations. If you're in a regulated industry, what unique controls apply to you and your business case that really should be baked into your security requirements? Then another thing to consider is that, the way organizations use the cloud may differ on the business by the business case and what service they're really utilizing. I love this shared services model because it helps you at a high level. When you think about requirements, look at each of the responsibilities that fall to the organization. Anything in blue is what you're responsible for if you're a security professional working for an organization that's utilizing cloud services. And it helps you prioritize, we're using infrastructure as a service. Okay, we really need to focus on a broader set of security requirements to make sure that we're operating the cloud safely. Oh, okay, this is a SaaS solution. There really are only a smaller set of security controls and concerns that requirements will be derived from. But this shared security and responsibility model is an excellent high-level guide to focus your thinking on what are the key security requirements for my organization. Okay, let's reflect a little bit. How does your organization identify security requirements? We talked about many different artifacts as well as looking at the shared security responsibility model based on services to help you really get a jump start and focus your thinking on what are the most important things to figure out from a security requirements perspective. And then we also want to think about how can different security responsibilities we have discussed be used to proactively identify security requirements. That shared responsibility model example, again, helps you see from a high level, where do we as an organization have the greatest responsibility from security given the service model that we're using? And then also we want to consider those other items, such as the business impact analysis, what are the most important assets? And then what regulations may apply to us in our industry that we also need to consider when developing our requirements? Well, I hope you feel a lot more confident in your ability to create and come up with the most important requirements in terms of security. Okay, in summary, we talked about the importance of security requirements. We talked about the ways of identifying security requirements based on those different assets and the business impact analysis and the requirements, frameworks, regulations. And then we also talked about how the security requirements can be different by service model, and how thinking about how those different shared security responsibilities can help us really create a shortcut for identifying the most important security requirements for our organization. All right, I hope you found this useful. I'll see you in the next lesson.